Hello everyone, welcome to Oracle of the Central Sun. I am Michelle. Welcome to my channel. Please share, please like, please subscribe, please leave your comments here. It helps my channel to grow and I appreciate all the interaction. So I wanted to talk about one of the energies that we are dealing with for the rest of the year, and then also until the middle of 2028. And this is the movement of the planet Saturn. Saturn is leaving the area of Pisces in our charts, the sign of Pisces, and is moving into the sign of Aries. Now, Saturn takes around 29-30 years to go around the zodiacal chart, so it stays in a sign for around about 2.5-3 years. And Saturn is such an interesting planet and such an interesting energy because Saturn is in ancient astrology called one of the malefic planets together with Mars. And so Saturn is often seen as the baddie. But the way I would love to, you can hear Roxy the dog coming into the room. The way I would love to see the universe is that everything is love and everything is here for our expansion and evolution. And so even those things that Saturn brings is here to help us and to evolve us and to help us to find aspects of ourselves that are still undiscovered. So Saturn is that energy that can feel a little bit heavier. Saturn is seen as the planet that governs time and wisdom, and it governs things that grow over time and things that we need more patience and more endurance for to cultivate. So this is all part of Saturn. Saturn can help us evolve by bringing things into our lives that might feel restrictive. And one of the things that Saturn is also associated with is simply the word no. So we might think that we are growing in one direction and moving into a certain area or wanting to do something, and then Saturn comes in and says no, or Saturn says no, not yet. So there is an element of Saturn that, yes, can be more challenging, but as I said, it's all here for our growth and evolution. So the last time that Saturn was in the area of Aries was in the late 90s, 96, 97, 98. So if you are somebody who is my age or older, you could look back to those years and see what was going on for you in your life at that time. I know that I was really asked to grow at that time. I was asked to let go of a lot of my naive perceptions of the world and really grow into my own endurance and responsibility with what I wanted to achieve in the world. So it's always valuable to look back at when a planet was last in the same sign and see what was happening, because even though the planets are always unique in the sky and nothing is ever repeated 100% like it was in the past, it can just give you some kind of indication and understanding of how you are now dealing with things. And because Saturn is such a slow moving energy, it really is to do with wisdom and growth. So that is also the interesting that we can observe now, because like I said, those of us who are older, we can now look back and see this is the wisdom and this is the endurance I have gained in the last 30 years since Saturn was last in Aries. So yeah, do look back and see if you can find what was happening for you in your life at that time, in the sign of Aries in your chart. And I also wanted to mention that, of course, what is different at this time is the fact that this time Saturn is entering Aries while Neptune is also in Aries. So this is a very different energy. And I wanted to mention that because, yes, it's valuable to look back, but it's also valuable to recognize that what we are going to be experiencing with Saturn in Aries at this time is fundamentally going to be different than it was 29, 30 years ago because of the presence of Neptune now in the sign of Aries. So what is interesting about what is happening in the sky right now is that these energies of Neptune and Saturn coming together in the sign of Aries brings about a very specific energy for us to use for our own development and evolution. So the sign of Aries is ruled by Mars. It is all about initiations. It's about new beginnings. Mars is fast moving. It's about taking action. Mars is that warrior-like energy where we really want to be the hero and the warrior of our own life. So those are all things associated with the sign of Aries. Mars on the more challenging side can also bring energies of conflict because Mars is also the Lord of War. So these are also things that we can take into account, and we might be learning new ways of dealing with conflict and developing in those areas of our lives as well. So that is the energy of Aries. And then Neptune is a very expansive energy in the sense that it is very, very cosmic. It's a very wide energy. It's like looking through a wide angle lens of a camera. You can, with Neptune, tap into unity consciousness. You can have that eagle's eye view of really seeing life and your dreams from a much higher perspective. Neptune is about our dreams. It's about developing our intuition. So all of these things can really be developed at this time. So of course, Saturn is only going to be in Aries until 2028. And it's present with Neptune, but Neptune is even slower moving. So Neptune will be in Aries until the year 2039. So I wanted to focus this video more on the planet Saturn because, like I said, Saturn is seen as a more challenging energy for us to develop through. So Saturn is almost the opposite energy of Aries. Aries is fiery, it is fast, it wants to take action, it wants to get moving, and Saturn is that slow, wise sage sitting on the mountain, contemplating things, wanting to use wisdom before it takes action, and really wanting to develop things, wanting to see where it's a yes, where it's a no before it moves forward. And Saturn is associated with old age, which is more slower moving. So as you can see, there's already quite opposite energies at work here. And this is why this development over the next 3 years is so important for us, because we are really being initiated into working with these opposite energies now in a totally new way. And what I've noticed with people talking about these energies on social media is that the mind wants to make these things an either or. Do I need to be fast? Do I need to be slow? Where do I need to gain wisdom? And What I want to bring here today is that what if it's actually an and? We need to bring the view of and into these energies that we're working with in Aries at the moment. And this is where we're going to have that interesting juxtaposition, and where we are going to be cultivating our wisdom and our intuition in terms of dealing with, say, just one aspect of life. There might be certain things where you need to take fast action. There might be certain things that you need to take the long term and the slow view. And these are all important things that we are learning at this time. And see it as a play, because we're not always going to get it right the first time. If you are very intuitive and very developed spiritually, yes, you might get it right first time. But I want us to be playful with this, because sometimes we might think that a fast action is needed, but it's actually a more slow approach that is needed at the time. So play with these energies, and until the middle of 2028, while Saturn is in Aries, when you are doing something, when you are taking new actions, when you are entering new areas of life, making choices, come back to this question: what is needed at this time? Is it speed? Is it slowness? Is it wisdom? And which aspects need speed, and which aspects of what I'm trying to do require a slower approach? So this is what I wanted to bring to you today, is really to cultivate over the next 3 years those ideas of fast and slow action, cultivating short-term views and long-term goals and views all at the same time, and finding that intuitive place to know which one is appropriate for what you are going through at the time. So I just wanted to give you specific dates for what is happening with Saturn in Aries, because often with the slow moving planets, we get a little taste of a planet in a sign, and then it retrogrades back, and then we get the longer view. So from the 24th, 25th of May, depending on where you are in the world, is when Saturn is moving into Aries. And then we're going to get this episode 1, which is going to be June, July, August. Saturn is going to be in Aries. So see where you are dealing with these ideas in your life, of where you might feel that you want to take fast action, but you're feeling some kind of restrictive energy around it, and play with those energies of action and cultivating long-term views. So Saturn enters Aries on 24-25 May. Then on the 12th or 13th of July, depending on where you are, at 1 degree 56 of Aries, Saturn is turning retrograde. And then on the 1st of September, Saturn is entering Pisces again in retrograde motion. So like I said, you've got June, July, August to feel into these energies. And then on the 13th or 14th of February, Saturn is then, after the retrograde, in Pisces, entering Aries in the middle of Feb, and then it is staying in the sign of Aries until the 12th of April 2028. So we're now going to get June, July, August, this 3-month taster period of this energy, and we can really feel and see, and then we can be ready for what is coming for us from the middle of Feb 2026 until the middle of April 2028. So I was looking at the energy, and I found that what is most important for the human collective to learn at this time of Saturn in Aries is actually endurance and staying power. So again, it comes with that energy of Aries where we might want things to happen quite fast, and our plans, we have fast acting plans and actions that we want to contribute to the world. And we are going to be called to cultivate those properties of endurance and staying power in that area of our life. So what came to me with this is two things that are going to be very important, and it's in line with the endurance and the staying power. Your attitude is going to be everything while Saturn is in Aries. Really, when things feel restrictive, when you might get a no from Saturn energies, really cultivate that long-term view. Ask yourself, yes, my goal is still there, my dream is still there. How can I adjust my attitude now to still get to where I want to go? And then the other thing is cultivating strength of character. And this is also to do with endurance and staying power, like cultivating those things that really are going to make your character stronger in that area of life where you are dealing with Saturn in Aries. So that's what I wanted to share today. And then I also pulled 3 tarot cards because I wanted to get a bit of a story. And it really works very well with what is happening with the Saturn in Aries energies. And the first card I got was actually the Devil card. And the Devil is often about shadow aspects, but I feel for Saturn in Aries, it is to do with a sense of restriction. And so as we know with the Devil card, the chains that the humans are wearing around their necks, they are actually quite loose. So a part of this Saturn in Aries energy is for us to going to cultivate those energies of feeling restriction, but not to let it weigh us down too much. To know when the chain is loose and you can just throw off the shackles, So that is something that's going to be very important until the middle of 2028. Then the second part of the Saturn and Aries story is the Page of Wands. And as you can see, the page is maybe like a teenager. He's still a little bit immature, and he's received this wand from maybe the king, and he's looking up and he is noticing where he can grow. So for me, this is the part of Saturn and Aries where we can ask ourselves, where can we grow? If you look at this card, he's got the salamanders on his clothing, the salamander print. And the salamander is associated with the fire element and this fast moving energy. But this page is looking at the wand, and he knows that it's going to take time for that growth to happen in what area of life he is working with. So this is also about that growth, like noticing where the fire is inside us, but being open to that sense of growing into where we need to go. And then the last card is the Six of Wands. And this is all about recognition and progress. And it's also about self-confidence. So this is the last part in the story. And I feel that if we work with that devil energy, we work beautifully with the restrictions and the slower energies that might show up even though we want to move fast. And we also look at the Page of Wands, where we see what we need to grow into. If we cultivate that endurance and staying power, then we're going to get to this point of recognition and progress and self-confidence, and then we can celebrate what we have come through and how much we have grown. So thank you for being here today. I wish you all the best with working with these Saturn and Aries energies. I feel it is a more expansive energy because we also have Neptune in Aries. It would have felt a little bit heavier and maybe more slow and restrictive if Saturn was now moving into Aries without the presence of Neptune. So that is the first thing that we can celebrate, that we are now working with this energy in a different way. So thank you for being here with the Oracle of the Central Sun. I am Michelle. Please share this with others if you find value in this, and I will see you again next time.